Today, we're diving into something super important, but often overlooked: storing water. Whether you're gearing up for an emergency, living off the grid, or just trying to be more prepared, getting your water storage right is crucial. But guess what? There are some fatal mistakes that could turn your lifesaver into a potential disaster. In this video, we'll talk about 10 fatal mistakes preppers make when storing water, especially those who are new to all this. Whether it's a natural disaster or just planning ahead, we've got you covered. Let's make sure you're not just storing water, but storing it the right way. Ready to dive in? Let's get started. Number 10. Ignoring local environmental factors that could affect stored water. Paying attention to your local environment when storing water is huge. Think about it. If you're in an area with a lot of industrial activity or agriculture, there's a chance of chemical runoff getting into your water supply. That's stuff like pesticides, fertilizers, or industrial waste, which you definitely don't want in your drinking water. So, what can you do? First off, understanding your local environment is key. If you're collecting rainwater, know where that rain might have picked up pollutants. And if you're near agricultural or industrial areas, be extra cautious about how you collect and store your water. Using a good filtration system is crucial here, but don't stop there. Regular testing of your water can give you a heads up on any contamination issues early on, so you can deal with. Number 9. Not filtering rainwater correctly. Capturing rainwater is a smart move for bolstering your water supply, but it's not as simple as just setting out a barrel and forgetting about it. Rainwater can pick up pollutants from the air, not to mention dirt and debris from your roof and gutters. So here's the thing, if you're not filtering it properly, you're setting yourself up for some less than ideal water quality. First off, you'll want a pre-filter to catch the big stuff like leaves and twigs. Then, getting down to the nitty-gritty, a fine mesh filter can help remove smaller particles. But remember, filtration isn't just about keeping the water clear. It's about making it safe. Microorganisms like Giardia and Cryptosporidium can sneak into your water, and these guys are tough to get rid of. A filter with a 1 micron or smaller pore size is your best bet for tackling them. And here's another pro tip: don't rely on filtration alone. Adding a step for disinfection, like using UV light, chlorine, or boiling, ensures your rainwater is truly safe to drink. This way you're covering all your bases, making sure that the water you're collecting is as clean and safe as it can be. Number 8. Not changing the stored water regularly and accessing the water storage improperly. Keeping your stored water safe and drinkable means regularly checking and changing it out, not just setting it and forgetting it. Water isn't something you can store indefinitely without a little upkeep. Over time, even the cleanest water in the most sealed containers can start to degrade, especially if it's not stored in ideal conditions. That means every so often, you need to swap out the old water for fresh. Think of it like rotating your pantry stock to keep everything fresh. Accessing your water storage the right way is just as crucial. Every time you dip into your supply, you've got to be careful not to introduce contaminants. Using clean, dedicated utensils or a spigot can help keep the rest of your water supply safe. Imagine opening a container with dirty hands or using a cup that's been sitting out. You could be inviting bacteria into your clean water. The key here is to be mindful about how you're accessing your water, keeping everything clean, and ensuring your water stays safe to drink for as long as you need it. Number 7. Repurposing previously used food-grade containers improperly. Speaking of food-grade containers, repurposing ones that were previously used seems like a great recycling move. But there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Here's the scoop. Containers that once held soda, juice, or milk might look clean after a quick rinse, but they can hold on to bacteria and residues that are tough to get rid of. The trick is in the cleaning process. Simply washing them out isn't enough. You've got to sanitize them properly to ensure they're safe for storing water. For instance, containers that held milk are particularly notorious because milk residue can be a breeding ground for bacteria. And don't even think about reusing containers that held oil or strong-smelling substances. Odors and residues can linger and affect your water's taste and safety. If you're going to repurpose containers, choose ones that previously held water or are easy to clean and sanitize thoroughly. You can use a bleach solution to kill off any lingering germs and to ensure they're completely dry before you fill them up with water for storage. It's all about keeping your water supply safe and drinkable. No shortcuts. Number 6. Storing water in the wrong type of containers. Storing your emergency water in the wrong containers is a mistake that can lead to a whole bunch of problems. Here's the deal. Not all containers are created equal when it comes to water storage. Metal containers, for instance, are a no-go because they can rust and mess with your water's quality. Sure, stainless steel doesn't rust, but it's not ideal either, especially if you're thinking of treating your water with chlorine. Stainless steel and chlorine just don't mix well. Plastic seems like the easy choice, right? But here's where it gets tricky. You've got to make sure it's food-grade plastic. Other types of plastic can leach harmful chemicals into your water over time, especially if they're sitting in the sun. Glass is another option that doesn't leach chemicals, but it's heavy and can break easily, which is less than ideal in a crisis situation. Number 5. Not using the right additives for water purification. When it comes to purifying water, using the right additives and following the guidelines is crucial for safety. We already talked about chlorine disinfection by using bleach, so let's now talk about iodine. Using iodine for water purification requires careful attention to concentration and temperature. The effectiveness of chemical treatments like iodine decreases with colder temperatures, and it may take up to 4 hours to treat water contaminated with cryptosporidium. For water above 68 degrees Fahrenheit, adding 5 drops of 2% tincture of iodine per quart or liter for clear water is recommended, with adjustments needed based on water clarity and temperature. We also suggest using filters that are rated at 1 micron absolute or smaller, or UV disinfection pens for clear water. Following these treatments, water can then be disinfected using chlorine or iodine. This multi-step approach ensures that the water is safe from a broad spectrum of contaminants, including bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Not following these can mean your water isn't properly purified, leaving you with a supply that might not be safe in an emergency. Also, please always check expiration dates on purification products to keep their effectiveness in check. Number 4. Using too much bleach for water disinfection. When facing an emergency where clean water access is compromised, using unscented chlorine bleach for water disinfection is a practical option. It's critical to use the correct amount based on the bleach's concentration to ensure safety without compromising health. Bleach is packed with sodium hypochlorite, which is the same stuff you find in water purifiers and cleaners. This chemical is pretty harsh and can hurt tissues if it gets on them. If you swallow it, you could end up with poisoning, and breathing in its fumes isn't any better, especially if it's mixed with stuff like ammonia. When it's diluted, it usually just irritates your stomach a bit, but gulping down more can lead to tougher symptoms. The industrial strength kind has way more sodium hypochlorite, upping the chance for serious damage. For clear water, a specific number of drops per gallon is recommended by the US EPA. The correct dosage depends on the bleach's sodium hypochlorite content. Let's go through the numbers. For every gallon of clear water, add 8 drops of 6% bleach or 6 drops of 8.25% bleach per gallon. If the water is cloudy, double these amounts. After treatment, the water should have a slight chlorine scent. If not, treat again. If the chlorine taste is strong, transferring the water between containers can help. Do take note, though, that this method targets many microorganisms, but won't remove other contaminants. Number 3. Not storing water in the right conditions. Storing water in the right conditions means keeping it in a spot that's cool, dry, and away from direct sunlight. Now, I know some of you might be asking, doesn't sunlight act as a water disinfectant? That's correct, But while sunlight can help disinfect water through UV rays, prolonged exposure can also lead to the growth of algae and other microorganisms in stored water, especially if it's not perfectly clean. And one other thing, sunlight can degrade certain types of plastic containers, causing them to leach chemicals into the water. For these reasons, it's generally recommended to store water in a cool, dark place to maintain its purity and safety for consumption. It's not just about picking a dark corner. You've also got to think about temperature and humidity. Basements, closets, or anywhere that stays consistently cool and doesn't get a lot of sun exposure is ideal. Number 2. Not storing water in properly sealed containers. All right, next up is the big no-no. Not storing water in sealed containers. Imagine going to all the trouble of storing water, only to find out it's been compromised by contaminants because the containers weren't properly sealed. Airborne pollutants, dust, you name it, can sneak into unsealed containers, turning your precious water supply into a potential health hazard. Plus, open containers can become a breeding ground for mosquitoes and other unwelcome guests. So, what can you do? When it comes to sealing, the simplest methods can be the most effective. Screw-top containers designed for water storage are a great start because they're easy to seal tightly and check for leaks. If you're reusing containers, make sure the seal is still good. Sometimes replacing the cap with a new one is all it takes. For containers without screw tops, heavy-duty tape designed for sealing food containers can add an extra layer of protection. And remember, testing the seal by filling the container with water and turning it upside down is a quick way to make sure you're all set. It's these little steps that make a big difference in keeping your water safe and drinkable. Number 1. Not planning for the water needs of pets and plants in addition to human consumption. When planning your water storage, it's easy to just think about the basics: drinking, cooking, maybe a bit for personal hygiene. But if you stop there, you're missing a crucial part of your household's ecosystem: your pets and your plants. Your pets are part of your family, right? They rely on you for their needs, and water is a big one. Different animals have different needs, so it's worth doing a little research to make sure you're setting aside enough for them. And plants, whether we're talking indoor plants that add a bit of green to your space or a backyard garden that could be a vital food source, they all need water to thrive. Ignoring these needs could mean risking their survival, which could impact your environment and food supply. So, add a bit more to your water storage calculations. It ensures your preparedness plan is truly comprehensive, taking care of all the living things under your roof and in your garden.